Hi guys, now it's time to look at what we call bands and upper bands and lower bands. So the first skills we're going to learn is how we write things in lower band and upper band. So we're told 27 is rounded to two significant figure, and we could be asked what is the lower band and upper band. So my advice is always draw a number line and put the number you have in the center. So two significant figures means this is the first significant figure and this is the second, and that's what it's been rounded to. This number could be like 27.2 or etc, etc. So this is the column we need to make go up 1 or down 1. So it's going to go to 26 and 28. And we say the upper bound and lower bound is just the halfway points. So this is the lower bound and this one would be the upper bound. Therefore 26.5 and 27.5. Now let's do the same here. We have 35 in the center, but it's to the nearest 5. So this time we need to increase it and decrease it by 5. The upper and lower bounds is our midway points. So we have 32.5 and 37.5. To the nearest 10, exactly the same. So that goes in the middle. Now it's been made to the nearest 10. It's got to go 10 lower or 10 higher. So 400 and 420. The lower bound is halfway, 405, and the upper bound is halfway between these two, 415. Now let's shift it up a bit. So two decimal places, it means this is the first decimal place, this is the second. So this could have been 3.864, 3.863, 3.857, etc. But to get to this column, it's been rounded to two decimal places. So 3.86, so we're going to increase and decrease this column by 1, so 3.85 and 3.87. So this one, upper bound, is 3.86, and it's always to 5 because it's always halfway. So it's 3.85, halfway is another 5. There we have it. So that's the lower bound and the upper bound. Now you don't often get asked these skills individually. They normally ask you it in part of a wordy question near the end of your test. So let's have a look at this one. So we're told A is 3 to the nearest whole number. So there's 3. It's the nearest whole number. That means it can either be 2 or 4. So we're looking at here and here. So the lower bound must be 2.5 and the upper bound must be 3.5. And we're told B, so this is A, I'm going to put A there, this is B, so it's 10, but to the nearest 5, so it can go up 5 and down 5, meaning we're looking at these 2 points here, so the lower bound must be 7.5, and the upper bound must be 12.5. So we now have to work out the maximum value and the minimum value we can get from when we put this in. Now, with division, to create the biggest answer, it's how many of these go into this. So if we make this as small as possible and this as big as possible, we'll get the largest answer. So for A, we need the largest one. So to find the max, it's going to be 3.5 divided by the smallest one for B, so 7.5. So if I type that in, 3.5 divided by 7.5, I actually get 0.46 recurring. Now the smallest one, the minimum one, I want to make it as smaller as answer as possible, so I need this to be massive, or as big as I can make it, and that to be as small as I can make it, so there's least of these go into this one. So A needs to be small, so we're going to have 2.5, and we're going to have the biggest on the bottom. So 2.5 divided by 12.5 is 0.2. So there you have it for the answer. But if you struggle to think like I've just done, what I'm going to show you now is you can just do the others as well. So if we do 3.5, which is our value for A, but this time divided by 12.5, and we take the smallest value of A, 2.5, and divide it by the smallest value of B. If I type these in, bear with me a second, I get 0.28 here, and the next one, I can't believe I just typed that into my calculator, what I did, and that's 0.3 recurring. You can clearly see that this is the biggest number and this is the smallest number. Now sometimes when you do this, you might have them, like, let's say they all start with 0.4. In this case it doesn't, but if they do, they might not say maximum minimum, they might say what is a suitable degree of accuracy. So you have to work out all four of them and look what they're all the same. So let's imagine this was 0.46, this one was 0.41, 0.43, 0.444. They all have 0.4 at the start, so you could say it was 0.4 as the answer. So just be prepared for those. Now let's look at a slightly more challenging one. So this is a tough question. It looks complicated, and we've got three different things we're going to need to round. So let's start off with D. So D, we're told, is 2.6 to 1 decimal place. So I need to increase and decrease this value by 1. Lower bound and upper bound, so we've got 2.55 and 2.65. For E, we've got 12.52 to 2 decimal places. So it's this column, we've got to add 1 and take 1. So we're going to have 12.51 and 12.53. So our upper bound and lower bound are 12.515 and 12.525. So for F, we're going to have 3.2. Again, it's 1 decimal place, so I'm going to increase and decrease this value. So we have 3.15 and 3.25. You should be getting pretty good at this part. So maximum and the minimum value for C. Let's do maximum first. So again, it's division, so we need to make this top part as big as possible and this part as small. If in doubt, just do all four. So it's multiplication, so I just need to make this number and this number as big as possible. So D, the biggest one, is 2.65 cubed, times E, the biggest one, is 12.525. And we want F to be as small as it will possibly go, so we're going to have 3.15. Now, let me just type this in. I've got an old-fashioned calculator without a cubed button at the moment. It's quite annoying. So bear with me. And I get there 73.995, blah, 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 blah. Let's round it to, this is quite annoying rounding one. Let's just do it to 1 decimal place. That'd be 70, that would round up, so this become a 10. So it'd be that to 1 decimal place. You can just about see that on the screen. And for the minimum, we want the top to be as small as possible. So the smallest for D, multiplied by the smallest for E, and the biggest value for F. And when you type that one in, you should definitely get an answer smaller. In fact, you do. You get this, which is much easier to round to 1 decimal place. And there we have it. So that is upper and lower bounds. You just have to go and get practicing now. The questions hardly ever change.